Right, so let's go ahead and build the navbar component. So in our code, I'm going to create a new component. This is called navbar.tsx. And then we can just do RAFCE for now. And then in here, this is essentially the navbar saying my app. Let's save that. And then in the layout.tsx over here, what I want to do instead of this header here, I'm just going to put in the navbar component like so. And then all we want to do is import that and let me save. And then here you can see now this is the new navbar saying my app. So there's nothing to do with signed in or signed out. We've taken that out, which is the existing clerk logic that we want to, and we want to use our own sign in and sign up pages. So that's what we will do. So going back into the navbar component itself, what I want to add is this UI over here. So let me just bring it in. So essentially we have a nav with the relevant class name, paste that in, and then we just need to close this nav off like so and import the links in. So this is saying that with the creator hub, which is going to be on the left hand side, and then after that we want to have another div. So let me just create a new div. This is going to be everything on the right hand side. So everything in here is where we have the links to the relevant places for the dashboard. So for now, what I'm going to say is I'm going to copy this, bring it in here. So we are going to have a display name. We're going to have a user button, and we're also going to have a custom sign out button. So this is a component we will be building later. And then we also want an admin page. Well, that's only if the user is an admin. So let me just comment this one out. So this is everything when they signed in. So if you think about what we've done in the past is where if someone signed in, then we use the clerk signed in component. But I want to show you another way of using it so that it's done on the server side and we get the information on the server side. So there's a hook you can use, which is essentially this one over here, which is const user await current user. So let me import this in, and you can see here it says import current user from Clerk Next.js server. So let me save that. And now what I want to do is with Next.js top level await needs an async. So all I need to do here is change this to a navbar like so. And then all we need to do at the bottom is we can delete this section here. So now let me save that. And I want to console log what the user is. So this should generate in the terminal. So let's just save this and actually comment out the display name. Or actually, let me just do const display name is equal to user.fullname or guest. So that covers that error, and there's no more errors in here. Now, one thing left to do is essentially render this into our layout. So in here, we already have done that actually. So let me save this. And now I want to see the user. So you can see because it's server side, everything is logged in the actual terminal at the bottom over here. So now we have all of this information about the user that we can grab and attach. So here we have the email address. So that's a good one. What do we want to render here is the name. So we can say user dot first name, or these are the external accounts. So let me just ignore that. But right at the top, this is the object here. So we don't have a phone number. That's fine. We can get the email address and we can get the first name. So let me just change this to user dot first name, which we have. Otherwise, we can show the email. So the email will be handy for when we have signed in through the actual registration form. So we will do that sign up form later on. But essentially now we should be able to see a display name over here. So now let me just save this and let's check that actually renders. And you can see here that it actually renders correctly. We need to also make sure that the component here is spanned across the entire length. So let me just quickly do that. So if we go into our page.tsx, so on the layout, should I say, so in here, we have the navbar being rendered, but the navbar itself needs to have a class name. So let me just quickly add the body class name as well to the top, which essentially is the background and so on. This is not a header anymore. We need to delete this one. So the navbar takes care of everything for us. And now all we need to do is save. And now you can see here, this is all full width. You can access the user profile component from Clerk. You can also sign out. But what I want to do is create our own sign out button. But before we do the sign out button, there is something missing in our navbar. So let's go into here. And it was the custom sign out button, which we will do. But there was this section over here, which was to do with the admin. So let me just quickly uncomment this section out as well. Now, what will happen is with this admin, we need to define a variable to say that this is the admin. So in here, we can get something that says, actually, the user role is the admin. So let me find that and we will declare the variable. So that is essentially const admin is equal to user.public metadata dot is admin. If it's true, then that's fine. If that's not even there, then it is false. So what I'm going to do instead is just copy what I have, put that in here, which is the same is equal to admin. So if it's admin, then we can show this section. If it's not admin, then we won't show this section, and we essentially can't go to the admin page. So if we go in here, this person's not admin. So let's just verify that is the case. So we would say user.public metadata. So let me find that in here. And in here, there's no object of role. This person isn't an admin. So therefore, we won't need to essentially show that link over here. So that is the correct functionality. What I want to do next is uncomment this and create the custom sign out button with its functionality, and we will do that one next.